That'll give us.
There he goes.
Yeah. There we are.
Hey, Eddie, you don't have me back in yet.
Yep.
Doug Miller. Yes.
Okay, got you now.
Very. Thank you.
Folks, what we're talking about here when we say this, the co-host, it pays good. The co-host helped me put this thing together because we have to admit members. We have to go looking for folks if they have a gallery item. And if you have a gallery item, you go to the chat and say, I have a gallery item. No special language, just I have a gallery item. And then that co-host will call you up, and when it says, hey, I want to go to Gordon and talk about his piece, Gordon, that's your key to unmute yourself and put up your piece. And the best place to put it is right here, right where your face is. Your camera's got a better cue of getting right here. We get to see the whole thing. That is unless you really got nuts on turning. And that'll show your piece off, and that's what we're looking for. And remember, we want to know what the wood is, how big it is, and what is the finish. Because finish is the final presentation. Well, we got a lot of folks out of Texas tonight, but there's a lot of folks in Texas too.
Eddie, I thought you mentioned last week about talking something about using iPhones and iPads for demonstrations.
Yes, sir. I have it in the next newsletter. Right, and I'm going to do a YouTube for the club channel, and I'm going to do it with the iPhone, showing. Well, I'm going to. I got to get permission of management. I'm going to shoot a video of how to set up a video using your iPhone and how to get it into your computer, but I have to video it with an iPhone to be fair. So I have to get the boss's iPhone and do that. And tell you what, tell her I want to take her phone and do anything with it is against the rules. Anything. But I'm working on that, John.
Yeah, okay. I think it's a good idea because there's a lot of clubs that's want to do these Zoom things along with their regular meetings. But the people don't have enough of money, or the clubs have enough of money to go out and buy a lot of cameras and a lot of this stuff we hear other people talking about. So I think the iPhones and the iPads and laptop computers is a great thing to be able to have demonstrators on meetings with.
Yeah.
I've been doing some comparisons of my little USB cameras, my iPad, my iPhone, a JVC that I've been using for 15 years. And the other day I was shocked. A direct comparisons running through OBS and recording it. The best video I got was the iPhone. The best one. And I shot it on the iPhone and I mailed it to myself. And then I took it and edited it. And the whole process came out crystal clear. So and that's what I was working with yesterday, how to spot a close-up camera, a studio camera, a chat camera, and the one I found the best for doing the overall presentation has been the iPhone. So we got to cover that. And I've been talking to a couple of clubs about that. Been talking to a couple of clubs, and one guy says this club spent like $6,000 to buy 2 computers, 2 camera sets, and all the V-Box, the V-Mix kit and all, the zoom in and all. And when he got it all done with it, he discovered that with his eye, yes, see, I'm losing my health. I talked about the iPhone. He found out that with his iPhone and one of these little clicker devices that you can get off of Amazon, that he had better control over his video and could zoom in and out and everything else and get a more awesome thing of an iPhone he had in his pocket all the time. And they they're doing club meetings, and he is videotaping the club meeting and giving them the videotape so they get edited to their presentation tapes. So there's a way around it.
Sometimes to get another iPhone, if you want one, you can go to the Verizon or someplace like that, where you buy your iPhones, and they'll have used ones there, and they'll take everything off of it and sell it to you pretty darn cheap to use as a camera if you tell them what you want to do. I went to the Verizon store and wanted to port a telephone number to the iPhone I had, and it wouldn't do it. But the lady said, "Do you have an extra iPhone someplace from when you bought this one?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, we can put that phone number on that one and forward it to your iPhone that you can carry all the time." She said, "If you don't have that one," well, she said, "I've got some here in the drawer that I can sell to you real cheap."
Yeah,
So that's a way to get another iPhone for a camera.
The folks at T-Mobile, that guy asked me, do I want to trade in my old phone, on a new 12, whatever, and he said I can give you $25 for it. I don't think I want to do that. It's in the cabinet, and I can still shoot video with it.
Yes.
And works great. Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
I couldn't mail it to myself. I did a direct hookup on the cable and called for it in my Zoom program, or that, what's the name of that program I use for editing? Final Cut.
OBS.
I just encoded it into Final Cut. I could even put it into OBS just as easy. And you can do some great editing. Say again?
I think he wants something from.
Okay, that's somebody outside the group. If you can hear us, we can hear you. Martin is calling in checking in from Great Britain this evening. Just seen a couple of things pop up. I was trying to get to the chat. Hey, go ahead.
Hey, can you put that access that remote control on the chat so we know where to get one?
Sure, I cannot do. I'm doing a show, but I can put it up there. I can get you to get the details on it. I've got a couple of them. I was going to see if the second one had some writing on it. I can. Nope. It's one of those common. It's made for Android and iOS, but I'll find it and I'll get it posted for you.
Yeah, please.
It's a nifty little device. I mean, you click it, you put the camera on video and you can point it at the camera, click it, and it makes a change and you're there. I'm hoping I stick around with y'all because I think right now I have to go. I'm getting a notice that my network is loose. Not so well because I am Wi-Fi at this time. Bear with me, chat. I will find my Wi-Fi connection and plug it in. My wife laughs about this. She laughs about a lot of things, but this is a special one. Y'all want to chat a little bit, go ahead. You got a guy for the gallery. Dane can call that up right now. Whenever you're ready. Dane, are you with us? Dane, did I drop off completely? Hello?
You're still here, Ed.
Yeah, you're still here.
Okay. I have to go to as I was saying, I have to go to my Wi-Fi because something says I'm not online anymore. Now I see where it's at.
Did you have a piece to show, Bob?
Yeah, I did. We have another deal for it. It's another Feeds of Courage box. This is the challenge for this month for our local club.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, there you go, right there.
Yeah,
I thought it turned out pretty good.
yeah, it did.
Yeah, that's very nice.
What's your finish?
It's general finish, a bowl finish. A
Salad
general
bowl?
finish. Yeah, salad bowl finish.
Yeah,
I like it.
Do you have the little medallion, the little beads of courage medallion on there?
Yeah, it's in the lid. I don't have it glued in yet. It's just sitting
Okay.
here.
Who
But-
who is getting those? Or did you have to get your own, or did the club get a bunch of them, or what?
No, the club got a bunch of them. They just hand them out when you ask for them, you know.
Okay, I was just curious.
I don't know if they cost anything, but through the club, they don't cost anything.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, okay. so
They're
the
not
club
much.
pays what
They're
we get.
$5, $7, something like that. But yeah, I was just curious if your club was getting those as a way to get you guys to do those, or just what you were doing. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, the club does it.
Okay.
Right on. Let's go and talk to Billy. Billy Dillard, you're up. What
Yeah,
you
I
got?
have a bowl I did a resin inlay with some decorative stones in it. It's elm and has the salad bowl general finishes salad bowl finish on it, and it turned out really well. It's got about 4 coats on it, and I also did a goblet today, and it's a sycamore finish. Some sycamore wood with a Parfex. It has cracks to be a piece of wood that almost got trashed.
Looks
And
good.
also did another apple.
Great.
You know, I did another apple which got a Parfex finish. I did some just red.
It still smells pretty good, like pine.
That's great.
All right, Lou Newell, you're up next. Go ahead and start talking as I bring you up. Hi, Lou.
Mute myself. You hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I was doing a little house cleaning earlier today, and in my dusting, I found something that I made back in 17 that was kind of unique, and I thought maybe it's something different than what we've been seeing. It's a bud vase that has square and
Turned off center.
come on. And
Pull it back to you. Pull it back to you, Lou. There you go. Right by your face.
That is me.
2
There
pieces
we
of
are.
beauty in one shot. There
I
you go.
like it.
yeah, that's it's made of maple, and it was an experiment I was doing with some off-center turning, and this portion in here, I had the thing, had it mounted on an off axis and turned partially, Then I remounted it on the true axis and drilled the hole for the bud vase holder, you know, the little, like a test tube thing, and turned the base. And it came out kind of unique.
It is.
Oh yeah, very unique. That's very nice.
Good.
Looks good.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
It almost looks like it was done through therming, if you know what therming is. Almost like
Oh.
barrel turning. It's pretty cool. You'll have to look it up or Google it, or maybe someone can talk about it one day.
Or we get a demonstration. How's that? I got real quiet when it said a demonstration thing, didn't I?
Yeah, right?
All right. Hey, beautiful, Lou. Thank you so much. That is wild. If you don't explain how you do it, it's one of those things where everybody's going to wonder how they got there. It's beautiful. Did I freeze out? Did we freeze out?
No, we can still
Okay.
hear you.
But I'm stuck on Lou's picture. So
Where are you, Lou?
Can't see you, Eddie.
Say again,
Where are you?
I'm sitting at my desk in my,
No, I mean, what state?
California,
California.
San
Okay.
Diego.
Okay. It's not in your name, so I can't tell. Yeah.
For some reason I'm not able to pull you back up, Eddie.
Eddie, turn your video on.
Video.
Is that-
There he
I
was.
I
All
think
right.
we've lost the chat too. I can't get anything to come up on.
Boy, if
All
we
right.
don't have technical problems, we don't have any problems, huh?
While we're trying to figure out the issue, let's go to Wyoming and Ron Vincent's got something to share for us. Hey, Ron.
Hi there. I've got a couple small boxes that I made. I have a segmented walnut with poplar. If I can get the lid off it.
Ah, wood turner makes the lid too tight. There it is.
There it is. Got the pop. And then I also have one that I made from cherry.
All
That's
right.
good.
Nice.
That's
Looks
nice.
good.
The lid comes off easier.
What's the finish?
The finish on this is lacquer. On the walnut one, it's wipe on poly.
Look good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Good looking work tonight. Wow.
I like the grain on the top.
Oh, yeah. That is sweet.
Mhm.
Same piece of wood as the base. They're totally different.
Oh, cool. Nice color contrast.
And the finial is walnut again.
All right.
That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm going to try and bring you up again, Eddie.
Okay. For some reason I keep freezing out.
It's still not allowing you to come up as in the spotlight.
Hmm.
And I'm still looking at Lou, the last presenter.
Right. Trying to find Don right now. Don, go ahead and start talking. I'll bring you up. Hey, Don.
Hey, Don, what you got?
Okay, there we go. Can you see it?
Yeah.
That's a pecan with a pedestal. It's about 12 inches across. Got a Parfex finish, got a live edge.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
very nice.
That's very nice.
Thank you.
Quite the piece.
Turn it green? Turn it
Yeah, I
while it was
did.
green or, oh, good
Yeah,
for
it
you.
was green.
There's Eddie.
Yeah, but that's really not me.
That's a stock photo.
That's not.
It's really not me, but we'll keep working at it. Somehow I must have turned off when we switched networks.
Eddie.
Yeah, well, that's all right. We'll use him. It's all right. I gotta remove my spotlight because I'll put it on. Go ahead, Dane.
Well, that's it for the current edition of gallery items.
Okay.
However, I can show mine, get it over with.
Slow down.
That's weird.
So this is a piece of 100-year-old desert olive wood. It was a crotch piece, and then I cut the crotch in half after I'd filled a large void with resin. See, that's the remnants of what remained in the vessel here. And so after I cut the crotch, then I blocked out the actual blank diagonally. That way I could have the grain of that crotch running the way it is.
Pretty.
That's
And
gorgeous.
So these cracks are through and through. So on the inside, I coated it with resin. And then the outside is nothing but Parfix 3408.
Just one coat?
That's multiple coats.
Wow, that's
Looks
very
good.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice finish.
Yeah, so I made, this was a request that came to me by my sister-in-law. And so that's where it'll be getting mailed to tomorrow to Massachusetts to my wife's sister. So yeah, but the piece came out really nice. It's a gorgeous piece.
There are a lot of olive trees in Arizona.
Yes, there is.
Wow.
I think we,
Great finish too.
Huh?
I said that was very nice. Had a great finish on it too. I like that.
Yeah, it did. Definitely. I probably put, let's see, after I got it turned, because of, actually, let me go get the other half. I'll show you. All right. So here's so if you imagine there's the other, that's the half that came out of. And so right here in the center, there was a big void that went down inside, and all I did was did multiple pours of resin. And, you know, so like I said, I cut the block out diagonally. Instead of going horizontal with it, did it diagonally. That way that grain starts around going up vertically. But you can see the color. So it sat on fire. All gray, that's you normally see in olive wood. It's all white. So I used yellow mixol colorant mixed with alcohol to bring back the color of the olive wood. And then it's got, and then I use my diluted boiled linseed oil and denatured alcohol as my sanding sealer. Then after that, that's when I put the carpets on.
So go through the finish one more time, if you would. How'd you?
The finish.
You
Yeah,
had a
so
couple of steps there.
I had several steps. So to bring back the color of the olive wood, I used Mixol pigments mixed with denatured alcohol. And so I applied that, and it brought back the yellow, the natural yellow that you see in your typical olive wood.
That really makes it sparkle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Makes it pop.
And then for a sanding sealer, I used boiled linseed oil and denatured alcohol at a ratio of 70% DNA, 30% alcohol, 30% blow.
Mm-hmm.
So I put a couple coats on it, to condition the wood, fill the grain. That mixture allows the boiled linseed oil to flash off and dry quicker. And then after that, I put on, I don't know, I think I've got 5 or 6 coats uh, 3408 on it.
Oh, you went heavy duty.
Yeah, you know, multiple, you know, I wanted to have that layered glass effect.
And that's bulletproof. I said 34.8. When I say bulletproof, you see what's happening to it right now? You got your fingers all over it.
Yeah.
That's the bullets I'm talking about.
Yeah, right.
There's only a few finishes in the world can hold up to being bulletproof. 3408 and super glue or a CA.
Right.
They're bulletproof.
And then for the inside again, for resin I use System 3, and so just a light coat with my paintbrush, left it on the lathe, let it rotate at I don't know, 10 or 20 RPMs. Put a coat in, let it dry for 12 hours. Next day, put in it, you know, so I wound up putting 3 coats in it, and so it's like glass, you know, didn't require any sanding. When you use the thin coats of resin in that type of operation, it's self-leveling. So initially, when you put it in with your paintbrush and you're pulling it out, you're seeing all these ridges, and your mind starts going crazy, thinking, "Oh my God, I just screwed this up." Leave it alone, let it rotate, and it'll self-level and dry without any ridges. But again, you got to do that with light coats to build it up.
A lot of finishers don't realize that finish has to cure.
Mm-hmm.
You said dry. It has to cure.
Absolutely.
And same thing with glues. Glues don't dry, they cure.
Right.
I see all these deals about you can turn it in 5 minutes. Yeah, but why?
Yep.
You know, it's not a drag race. Goodness gracious.
No.
All right.
Not
Thank
at
you.
all.
Beautiful, beautiful work, man. I really like that. The color accents you put on it really popped. That's,
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is it going to be a drinking vessel, or is it going to be just a decorative vessel?
It's a combination of both. According to her, she's occasionally going to have, she's got some sort of ceremonial thing that she does. So she'll be having wine out of it every now and then. But aside from that, it's a decoration piece.
Okay, cool. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
thank you, Dean. All right, we're gonna pop over to the voice you just heard is Kade Bolger, and he's out of Canada, and he's one of our regular members. I got to take the spotlight off of.
I got him.
Yeah, all right, you got him now.
Yeah.
And I have to mention, folks, that Kade is performing a demonstration this Sunday on his network. And if you want a demonstration on an awesome little box bowl that he does, the detail is awesome. I told my wife today, I want to watch this just to see how he holds it. Because if you can hold it, you can turn it. And if you hold it right, you can turn it magnificently. And that's why I want to watch Kay do that this weekend. Tonight, we're going to watch Kay work with a skew and shows a couple of tricks there. So Kay, let's get into it if you would, please.
All righty. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, so today we're going to have a bit of a play with the skew, do practice stick, the fundamentals of the skew, learn how to do the cuts, that sweet spot where you want to stay, and what not to do. So I did a couple practice sticks today. Well, these two are practice sticks from when I do classes, my wood turning 101 class. So the first 2 days are always spindle turning and spindle work before we graduate into bowl turning. So they can understand how the tool has to be presented, ride the bevel, and how to manipulate that tool until you get into a cross grain orientation where you can get a violent catch in end grain. Okay, so this is a practice stick. all of these cuts were made with the Skew. A cove with a Skew? Yes, you can even make a cove with a Skew. It's a lot easier and more resourceful to resort to a spindle gouge, but it is totally possible with the Skew. So students always have to do these cuts with the Skew first, and then they can try their spindle gouge and figure out which one they like to do. So here's another one here.
I like that.
Could almost be a candlestick. The
Go
flat
part of
cuts,
a wig. Go part of a wig stand, Ronnie.
yeah, or part of a wig stand. Yeah. So those two, we'll do one of these today. And then after that, we'll do a fun little project. I was playing around today, playing with shapes. And as I made this piece, it started to look like a figurine. So I did a little bit of a series, and some of you might have seen it on Facebook. It was, do you know the Skew Man? Yes, the Skew Man. He's a friend of the Muffin Man. Yes, the Muffin Man. Do you know the Muffin Man? So this is the Skew Man, and it comes with all the cuts of a skew. And after I did that, I thought, well, he might be lonely, so he needs a wife. So here's his wife with the top hat on. This is the Skew Woman. And recently, college let out, and their little teenage kid came home from college, and here he is here. Okay?
Right on.
He's got his little toucan. So there's their little teenage kid. And recently they were expecting. So they had a little newborn the other day. And here is their little baby newborn Skew Man. So I was just having some fun today, playing with the Skew, making cuts for this demonstration today. So that's the project we will end with. A Skew Man or a Skew Woman, whichever comes, whichever I feel like at the time, but it'll probably be a little Skew Man. But we'll start off with the Skew. Now the Skew, there's many different types of skews on the market, and it really all comes down to woodturner's preference. So you have your standard rectangular flat skew. All skews have a 70-degree cutting angle with a 25-degree bevel angle on either side. This is your normal skew, straight-sided skew. When you get a skew out of the box, or when you buy a skew, they don't really come in a box, but when you buy a skew, what you want to do is you want to soften these edges first off. Take a little file or take it to your belt sander and soften those edges, because when we use this skew, we ride along those edges to present the skew to make those cuts in these four fashions. So if you get a catch and you have a sharp corner there, it's going to make an indent or a little ridge in your tool rest. And then eventually you're going to have to sand and reflatten your tool rest, because if we come across using this skew and we get caught in one of those ridges, try and get out of that ridge and then, oh, catch. Okay, so you always want to soften those corners or have a rounded edge. So it is much easier to manipulate that tool, roll it over, but more importantly, it doesn't catch and create nicks in your tool mark that your tool gets caught in, and then you have to force it out, and then you run into a surprise. Okay.
I was asked in the past, why doesn't the manufacturers, why don't they do that?
I know, right? I don't know why they do that. It's probably too time consuming for them to do that on each individual tool when these are being banged out in a factory style. It would cost a lot more money for them to do that.
And that's exactly the truth. Because I questioned the manufacturer, and he said, oh no, I'll make you a rounded bottom. I'll make you an ellipse bottom. But if you want cheap, we give you square bottom.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both-
So this,
I do the same thing on the edges of my scrapers even because it doesn't take much for them to nick your tool rest.
Yeah, you want to
Oh.
do it on any of your bars, your tools that have rectangular bar shapes, you know, scrapers, negative rakes, skews, whichever.
Yep. Yeah, it's good to do on a scraper because when you tilt it up to do that shear scraping, if you get a catch, you will nick and create nicks in your tool rest. So that is one style of a skew. It's your straight-sided skew, and it's rectangular on all four sides. That is a record power skew. Okay. My next skew I have is a Glenn Lucas skew. And this is a full curved skew. It still has a 70-degree cutting angle and a 25-degree bevel angle on either side. It is still used the exact same as the others. It just comes down to preference. If you want a curved skew, a straight skew, or a slight radius skew. Now, this one I tend not to use too much, but it does make a really nice negative rake scraper with that curve on bowls if you need to use it. Okay.
It tends not to plow on the corners that if you ride down low.
Yes. Yeah. The next skew I have, so this is 1.25 inches. No. Yeah, 1.25 inches. This is 1 inch. I'll go the next size down. This is a 3/4 inch. Now this is a Thompson skew. When you get it, it's straight like this. So I reground it to put my grind on it that I prefer, which is a skew with a slight radius. And like Eddie said, it comes around those corners doing beads quite nicely without plowing through the edge of the timber. Okay. The Thompson skews are nice because on the bottom it's rounded over. So it's very nice for doing your beads and rolling around those corners, and we don't need to soften any sharp corners on that bar. It's only if you go to use the toe, you need to soften those corners here, okay? And my last but not least, sort of my go-to skew, is my 1/2 inch skew. This is a Benjamin's Best skew. It has a slight radius, 70-degree bevel, no, 70-degree cutting angle, and a 25-degree bevel angle. So when we use a skew, I'm actually going to just move these out of the way. Now there's several different types of cuts you can make with a skew. So I'm just going to throw on a little practice piece here. This is a piece of cherry. First thing we always want to do is find our centers. I used a center finder, and I find the centers on all four corners just in case it's not perfectly square. Split the difference of the rectangle, and I know dead center. Do that on both sides. I make a pin with my awl, after all, so it sits within these pins nicely. It's not so bad doing small items like spurtles or tool handles or skewmen or ornaments, but when you start getting into table legs, banister railings, to try and balance this in center and bring this up to center, it could be a balancing act and you could be chasing your tail. But by creating those pinholes, it sits where it needs to be, and it's quite easy to line up centered. Yeah. Now, they also have smaller skews on the market. You can buy a set of Henry Taylor miniature spindle tools, and his skew is 1/4 inch. Now, the smaller the skew, the smaller the sweet spot, okay? So whenever we use the skew, you want to stay within that bottom third. or the top third. That all depends on where you are directly supported by the tool rest. Okay. So first off, I'll round this quickly. And a little bit of a safety disclaimer. Whenever we turn, we always wear our face shield, right? And we always wear safety glasses. Anything coming off the lathe can come off at a fairly fast rate, even a bottle stopper. And if that hit your orbital bone, it could do some damage. If that hit your eyeball, eyeballs would pop like grapes. So protect your face, protect your eyes. I recommend wearing a face shield at all times. Everyone can still hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we got you.
Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to round this round. I could use a spindle roughing gouge, but since it is a skew demo, I will use a skew. Now there's many different ways you can rough this out with a skew. You could come in on the end and take 1/8 of an inch cut straight across the side. But if you present that tool in the wrong fashion and you catch that end grain, it will be a violent catch. So I recommend doing it slightly different. Start on one end, make your entry, plateau. Work your way back, plateau, 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 and so forth until we have a cylinder, okay? And then I would come back in this direction, plateau, until I have a cylinder, okay? So you can rough turn square stock round with a skew. It's more usually fundamentally done with a roughing gouge. So I'm also wearing earplugs because I do enjoy my hearing. Woodturners often go deaf in their left ear, if not both ears, due to the sound of the chatter from the tool hitting the wood and the sound of the motor. So I wear a custom pair of earplugs, 150 for the pair, which is significantly less expensive than one hearing aid. But I will still be able to hear you if you ask a question. I will just shut the lathe down, ask again. I will remove my earplug, ask again, and I'll answer that question. So before I started the lathe, you saw I spun that piece of wood because we don't want any of those corners to hit your tool rest and become airborne. It could be a potential hazard if we have a 5 pound, or well, no, not 5 pound, maybe 2 pound piece of wood flying through the air, especially if you're not wearing your face mask. And my tool rest, since I'm using the skew, my tool rest is above center, okay? We can see that here. My tool rest is above center. So when I use my big skew to rough this round, I am planing across the timber at 11 o'clock. So if this was a clock face, I position this tool at 11 o'clock. Now, when I am doing a planing cut, I have the toe up and the heel down. If I am going right to left, I have the toe up and I am proceeding in this fashion. I am riding on this corner. This is my fulcrum. Oh, I should have switched to the overhead. Sorry about that. So I would be trailing across the timber in this fashion, riding on this corner, which is my fulcrum. If I am coming across left to right, I switch hands. I am now on this corner and I am riding across the timber in this fashion. Now, this is a planing cut and you want to stay within that lower third. You can creep up to that center line, but don't go past that center line because you are directly supported by the tool rest to be on that lower half or lower third. If I transfer the wood up past that halfway point, the skew will then slam down, slamming into the wood, giving you a violent catch because I have just transferred the weight to a portion of the tool that isn't directly supported by my tool rest. If I wanted to use the toe, I would position it in this fashion. So now I am directly supported to make that cut within the bottom third or the bottom half of that toe position, okay? You always want to be supported on the tool rest where you're making that cut, okay? Now I'll rough this round. Always anchor your tool, lie the bevel flat. I'm riding the bevel, it's not cutting yet. Now I tilt the handle up. I have initiated the cut, and I enter and plateau. Enter and plateau. Working my way back slowly. To rough this piece round. You see, I lie it on the timber and I'm cutting at 11 o'clock. I remove the tool, I glide across my tool rest, I present it again, riding the bevel, and then I tilt the tool up to present that bottom heel to present the cut. Okay, working your way across. Now I can't go here because I'll go directly into end grain, and if I present this tool wrong, I could have a catch. And it could damage my live center. So it's good to be ambidextrous with your skew and switch hands. It takes a lot of practice though. I'm still not as good with my left hand as I am with my right hand because I'm right-handed. But you can always position your body by the headstock, hold it in your right hand, and create that cut in this fashion. Now, if I want to see if this is spinning around, don't put your fingers on there, because if it is still square, it will jam like a football. It could also pull your fingers in between that space. The wood will burn, the metal will cut. Okay? So lie your tool on top and see it's bouncing around on me. It's not quite round yet. So tools up high, ride the bevel, I bring it back. I present the cutter 45 degree to the wood, and the tool is a 45 degree to my tool rest. Okay? And I am cutting on that bottom third. If you're riding that bevel and you stay on that tool in the right position, you don't need that death grip. Okay? Okay. Back this way. Now that is a planing cut where I am planing across the timber. It gives you a really nice finish, especially on your pens your spindles. I love the Skew so much because it cuts your sanding down to virtually nothing, if any. Okay. I'm going to take a heavier cut here. Slow down, let the tool do the work. Now your planing cut gives you a really nice finish. I usually don't use that tool too much for a planing cut. I always resort back to my 1/2 inch. Now you can see when I went this way, I was taking a heavy cut, but due to the grain orientation and it curls up, it's actually an uphill cut. So I would want to lie the tool here and cut downhill, and I would have a finish like this. I'm not quite round yet, so I need to do one more pass. Now, you can do a planing cut with the toe as well. We just need to present that tool at that 45-degree angle. So now my tool is lying on my tool rest at maybe 10 degrees or so.
I'll mute myself, but that's a serious practice cut.
See those fine shavings?
Fine shavings, those be curlicues.
And it is one fluid motion. I lock that tool into my hip, I anchor it to the tool rest, and I move my body slowly and consistently. My legs will not get tired. If I'm trying to do it just by my arms, the vibration of the lathe will move the tool and then eventually catch. But if I'm doing this all day, flapping my wings, my arms are going to get tired and fatigued. When you get fatigued, that's when accidents happen, okay? So it's much better to use your leg muscles than just your arm muscles. So you can see my arms don't move, but my legs are cascading across the piece, keeping that tool stationary and riding that bevel, staying on the bevel. Okay? And that gives you a really nice burnished finish, which takes very little sanding. So I could start sanding at 220 or 320. I wouldn't necessarily have to start at 80 when I do a plowing cut. Okay? And these are the nice long shavings you want when you're using a skew. That tells you that you're cutting and not scraping. Okay? Now we're going to create a series of cuts to practice the skew cuts. Now there's 5 different cuts, I think. I think I counted that right before the demo, but we'll see. Okay? Excuse me.
4 P's, V's, beads, and Co's.
Oh, sorry, I heard something. Was there a question?
Oh, no, I was just saying the 4 P's.
The 4 P's, sorry?
For the cuts: planing, peeling, paring, point cuts. And where the point cuts are the beads, and V groove, and the other ancillary cuts.
Yeah. I never heard that before, but that's a good one. I thought of it as a planing cut, a peeling cut, an entry cut, a V cut, a bead cut, and a cove cut. Okay, and I will show you all those cuts right now. Now, why do you get a catch? What is happening when you get a catch and it creates that beautiful spiral design we all love to hate? I will show you that, and I will tell you that, okay? So you want to stay on that bevel, riding the bevel within that lower third. Now, the smaller the skew, the smaller the sweet spot. So when I teach the skew, all my students learn on a 1/2 inch skew, and you can always ramp up, you can always ramp down, but you get used to that small sweet spot, okay? So we already saw the planing cut, where I am riding across the timber at 11 o'clock, cutting with that bottom third, giving me those really long cuts, okay? Do it one more time here. So there is your planing cut. Now you can do a peeling cut. Now a peeling cut is just like a parting tool. You lie that bevel flat, and I lift the tool handle to initiate the peeling, and I lift and cut towards center, just as if I am using a parting tool. Now this is really good for when you're doing table legs, banister railings, stools, chairs, because there's my tenon that goes into my chairs, my spindles, my banister railings, okay? That is really the purpose of a peeling cut, okay? I can then come across here in a planing cut, and I can clean up that surface to a finished surface. I can also do a end grain bevel rubbing cut vertically down to clean up that surface as well. Now that is going to be your hardest cut with the skew by far, because you need to look up and over that toe right here. You need to look up and over that toe. I angle the tool slightly, so I'm riding the bevel in that bottom third, staying on the bevel, because I don't want to come down, contact the full bevel, and then skate, spiral design this way. You want to have it slightly decanted, so you're only ever in contact on that bottom third, okay? And that gives you a really crisp corners to your chair legs, table legs, banister railings, and whatnot, where you have a mortise or a tenon that goes into a mortise, okay? Now your next cut is a V cut or an entry cut.
Excuse me, on
now you can do your entry cut with your heel. The only thing is you can't see over the toe. So sometimes, depending on your experience, if you're a beginner, doing this cut, since you cannot see what the cutter is doing, you might wiggle it or try and see what it's doing and then catch. It's much easier to make that entry cut with the toe of your skew, because now I can see over the heel and I can see what the tool is doing, okay? And when I do that, I'm above center, I lift the handle, I drop the tool, and I exit quickly, because that is the thinnest part of your skew. You don't want to keep that in there too long, because it will get black, it will lose its temper, and then you need to sharpen your skew again. Now that is your entry cut or your stop cut. So now anything I do on either side of that cut, that is where I stop. Now you can do a bead straight from there into that curve, just like so.
Change cameras.
You a really tight curve to your bead. Actually, I'll switch cameras and I'll do it again. So I ride the bevel, I'm at that center line. I didn't make a center line, but in the beginning, it's good to have a visual reference of where that center is. With experience, you won't need to make that line. So I lie the tool flat, I bring it back, I enter the cut with my toe, and I roll it up and around that corner into that tight space, and I release, giving me a tight curve to my bead. And I do the exact same over here.
Now you're rubbing the bevel all the way through this for guide.
Yes, I am riding the bevel all the way through that cut. So I'm above, riding the bevel, I bring it back, initiate the cut. Once I see dust, I initiate the cut and I roll the tool up and around that corner, and I end in a closed position, just the same as when I made that entry cut. Otherwise, that cutter will kiss the other side of that bead. So now I lie it flat here. I roll up and over and around, giving you very nice tight beads. Okay? Now, that is a cut with the heel. Now, in the beginning, I found that tricky because as I came around that corner, I can't see what that heel is doing. So you can also make those cuts with the toe, and you can exactly see what you're doing in those cuts. So just like when I lied the tool flat this way and I rolled over to here, I present the tool in the exact same fashion, but I am using the toe, not the heel. So I lie it flat, I initiate the cut with the toe, and I roll up and around that corner. This way, I roll up and around that corner, giving you some very nice beads. With that center line still there, I know that that's the highest side of that bead, and on either side of that bead, you try and mimic the curve of the bead on the opposite side so your beads match. There we go. Now we got matching beads. Now that is your bead cut. You can also do a V cut. If you want a much deeper bead with a tighter point, you can do a V cut. Now a V cut, I enter with the toe, I release. I keep the tool in that position. All I do is I turn it 45 this direction, and I lift my handle to make that V cut. Again, lift the handle to make that V cut. Now I'm back at my stop cut position. 45 degree this direction, enter, and I have that V cut. Okay. Now I can have a much deeper bead. So I'm going to just do the same over here. Oh, and over here. There. Now I have a V cut on either side of what is going to be a bead. You find your center, and those will be beads. This will have a deeper cove on one side and a shallower curve on the other. So I start, enter with the tip, roll up and around, and finish in your closed position. Again, on this side, I have flat, enter with the tip, and I roll up and around, and I finish at this position. Now you don't have to do it fast. I just find you have less vibration and less of a stutter if you do that fast. But you can still do it slow and controlled with practice. So here I enter, I come down and around this corner, and I finish here, okay? I start here, come up and around this corner, and I finish there. Now I have my bead cut. So we always start with an entry cut. You can make that entry cut into a V cut. Oh, there we go. Now you don't have to make those cuts quickly, but with practice you can. There we go. There we go. Now, why would I get a catch? Now, if I am planing across, why would I get a catch? If I come off that bevel and present that tool here, oh, I skated away. So if I am riding that bevel, I am not going to get that skate. Stay within that bottom third and stay on the bevel. But the moment I come off that bevel, oh, skate. Okay. It would also happen in this direction. If I am peeling, I lift the tool up off the bevel, oh, it skates away in that fashion on me. Now, why does it skate away on you? Because the curve of the wood and the curve of your skew. So when I lift it off, it shoots in that direction following the curve of my skew. So to avoid those catches, just stay within that bottom third and maintain a bevel rubbing cut. Okay? So now you can do a cove. Now a cove cut, you don't need to make an entry with a V, or you don't need to make a stop entry cut, period. Now sometimes there's different kinds of beads. You have your round beads. You can also have a V-style bead. So here I will create a V-style bead. There. Now I have a V-style bead, and right next to it, I have a round bead. Okay. There. Still a little V-shaped, but you always want that high point in the center of your beads, whether it's a round bead, an oval bead, or a V bead. Now let's create a cove in between these two V cuts. Okay. Use my toe. I ride the bevel down. Clean up that cut. Now right in between here, I am going to create a cove. And in order to do that, I still need to ride the bevel. So I present the tool, ride the bevel, I initiate with the tip of my heel, and I cascade down into that plane. I cascade down into that cove, making a planing cut, okay? It's a planing cut because I'm planing across the timber and I am cutting downhill and I am cutting with that bottom third, okay? Now I stop at the bottom because rule of turning is we always do a downhill cut. We never make a uphill cut. So I need to switch. I enter on this side with the tip of my heel, and I enter and I cascade down to create that cove. I come back to blend the bottom of my cove, just like so. Okay. There. Now we have the 5 cuts of the skew. You have your planing cut, gives you a nice finish. You have your entry cut. There's your entry cut. We have our V cuts. We have our cove cut. We have our bead cut. Okay. So with all those cuts and using the skew, now we can create a skew man. Or are there any questions? Do you want me to do one of these again over here before we go into our little fun skew man project?
Hey, can I say something?
Yes.
Many of my students have a problem with the skew, not because they can't understand exactly what you're doing. Your demonstration is excellent, but they have a sharp corner on their skew blade, and a lot of their tool rests are not high-speed steel or soft iron. So I soften, I take the edge and I soften that because that skew will want to cut into the soft iron tool rest.
Yes. Yep. You always want to soften these edges because that's
Correct.
your fulcrum that you always glide across. And if you get a
Correct.
catch, that is what's going to indent your tool rest to the point where eventually you're going to have to file the top of your tool rest. But by softening those or having a round curve on the bottom, like the Thompson skew, you don't get those sharp corners that indent in your cast iron softer steel.
Correct. It helps the student operate the skew a lot easier.
Yes. Yeah. I did learn on this skew, and I found with these straight corners and not having that slight radius, you will catch that corner a little easier coming around those corners on the opposing bead. But it is totally possible with this skew with practice. I just now prefer a skew with a slight radius. Like Eddie said, it's easier to come up and around that corner without plowing through the wood. Yep.
You wonder how a skew works with the lathe turned off. Take a regular pocket knife and make these cuts by just turning the wood on your own. Do not turn the power on. Make these cuts after you go clean these cuts up using a regular pocket knife, and you will understand how that tool cuts. And if we look at it that way, we'll understand the physics of it. Yes.
So here is my pocket knife or my skew. Now, if I'm doing an entry cut, I make that entry cut just like that. I would make my V cut, enter this way and enter that way. A planing cut, we would be coming across the timber in this fashion to give a peeling cut. Now, yes, do practice it without the lathe on. You can see here. I haven't done it with my pocket knife yet. I thought about trying it with the power on, but I was quite nervous to do so.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do it. It's not safe. If you get a catch, you don't have a long enough handle on that knife to keep it in your hand. And it can come flying through the air and stick somewhere you don't want it to stick. Okay?
Yeah, I think what Eddie was meaning is if you've done any whittling, like with a pocket knife on a limb or any kind of a stick or a piece of wood, if you haven't, practice some whittling. Get you a good sharp pocket knife and practice some whittling, and you'll understand how the blade of that skew cuts.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. Yep, that's a great point. So I can do a few more cuts here, or we can just throw on the fresh piece of wood.
Let's go to.
Why
let's-
don't?
Can you
Pardon?
turn a couple more beads on that section?
Sure.
The problem is I can't get the participants off my screen, and it blocked that part of the view.
Sorry?
I'm having a technical problem that I can't pull the participant window up, and it stays on my screen. So the right third of my screen is blocked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
can-
no problem. I can do the exact
there.
same cuts on this side. It won't take too long. Alrighty. Now, since I'm shut down for a sec, I'm going to resharpen my skew. Now, some people say go to the grinder and sharpen it. It only takes seconds. I hone it with a card scraper. It doesn't take me any much longer than to use the grinder, but it significantly allows my tool to last much longer. So I only grind my skew maybe every 4 to 6 months, and I hone it in between. So I've had this skew for 11 and a half years, and I've only lost maybe an inch, okay? If I went to the grinder, I would have had to replace a skew every 6 months, like Steve Jones does, okay?
Yeah,
Because I
throwing
use my skew daily.
You're throwing the steel on the floor. You don't have to do that when you. I don't believe in grinding. And when you said shaping that one with slight curve, that's what God gave us belt sanders for.
Yep, belt sanders do work well for sharpening as well. So when I sharpen this, I lie this flat so the bevel is in contact, and I bring it back, riding that bevel till I get to that point. Now you need to slow down because we don't want to slip and go through our hand, okay? You can also, if you're nervous about doing it that way, you can do short little strokes back and forth as I move that tool from heel to toe, giving me a nice fresh bevel. Right, where is it? Right there, that I can cut on. And it's sharp again. And I do that on both sides. Make sure you maintain bevel rubbing because we don't want to round that edge over. And now my skew is sharp again. And I lost maybe a micron of steel rather than a couple millimeters. Now, planing cut. You don't always have to anchor, bring it back, ride the bevel, initiate the cut, but I find by doing so, it makes you think for a second exactly what you're doing, and you always present that tool correct. With experience and practice, you will be able to get that angle right off the hop. But if you hesitate, you might present that tool wrong, giving you a catch. So I find it's always safest practice. It takes 2 seconds. Ride the bevel, bring it back 45 degrees to the timber, initiate that cut, lock it in on your hip, and just cascade across the timber, moving my legs, not my arms. Okay? Now I peeling cut. I lie the tool flat. I bring it back like a parting tool. This cut is perfect for doing the mortise for your table legs, your banister railings, your chair legs. Okay? The next cut is your stop cut or your entry cut. Now this is the basis of all beads or V cuts. Okay. And we'll leave that part for a cove. So you can create a bead. You can mark your centers for a visual. This one I won't. You always lie the tool flat at that center line, enter with the heel, and I cascade up. Whoop, you see, as I came up, I came off the bevel and it skated away on me. That is going to be a longer tenon for a mortise now. So in order to do that bead, we lie the tool flat and bring it back, enter with the heel, and we cascade up and around that corner, maintaining bevel rubbing support. I came off the bevel, so it skated back on me. Here I do the exact same, roll up and around. Up and around. Up and around. Now that will give you a very nice shallow type point to your bead. If you make the bottom of your bead in the bottom of that entry cut. Okay, there. This I'll just clean up. Take off that high side. Blend into the corner. There.
James.
Tight curve, so I use my toe to blend the bottom of that bead. I can do it again here. Lie it flat, bring the bevel back, initiate the cut with the tip of the heel, and you cascade down and around that curve into that bottom of that cove. Now I just need to, I missed a spot. It wasn't quite sharp on that heel, so I'm just going to hone it quickly again.
While you're doing it, I gotta let you know that Brenda and James think you're a hero because you got catches and lived through it.
Enter up and around that corner. Oh, see what a difference that is with a sharp tool? I didn't have to force it. There we go. There. And that will give us a series of beads. Now you don't want them to be, you want the same profile on either side. So you can always go back and clean that up. There we go. Ooh, a little bit of a catch. There we go. So there's a series of beads. Now this one isn't quite the same. I guess I can be a little anal when it comes to attention to detail. Everything has to be the same. Okay. Now if I want that bottom of that bead to be deeper, there. You can do a series of V cuts. Now, if I make my entry, I leave it where I made my entry. I angle it at a 45 and I just lift my tool handle. Again, same position, lift the tool handle. Back to center, 45, lift the tool handle. Okay? There, and that is a V cut. Now I do that on either side, which gives me a much deeper cove to that bead. Okay? Yeah, might as well do it here so everything's uniform. You can find your center line. Now to do this bead, I will do one with the heel and one with the toe. Now the heel, lie flat, that center line, we enter with the tip of the heel, and we come down and across that curve, just like so. Okay? Again, we lie it flat, enter with the heel, come down and around that corner. Oh, here. And stop there. A little bit of a high side here, so I can blend that, take that off. Yeah. I was just trying to clean up the high side and not come all the way around. But sometimes it's easier just to do one more pass of the full curve because you might have a little bit of a stutter or a step just trying to take off that one side. You'll catch the cutter edge and it will give you a flat side, and then you have to do it all over anyway. So now with the toe, I would lie the toe flat at that center line. I enter with the tip, I'm riding that bevel, and I come down and around that corner. I flip it to my other side, other fulcrum, lie it flat at that center line, enter with the tip, and I roll it down and around that corner, just like so. Okay? Now for a cove, which we'll do here, you can do it both ways. I'll do one with the toe and one with the heel. There we go. One will be with the toe and one will be with the heel. So if I'm using the heel, I lie it flat. I line up that angle, initiate the cut with the tip. I cut downhill and I move my body to the tailstock and cascade the tool down, flat, and up. I'll show you my body position as I make that cut, okay? So I enter the cut, everything's locked in, enter with the tip of my heel, and I move my body towards my tailstock and back. Now to make the cut on this side, I enter here, and I come back towards the tailstock, okay, to create that curved cove, okay, and then I come back down in this fashion just to blend the two high sides, or the two low points actually. There we go. Now that was with the heel. Now I'm going to do one with the toe. And this is how I do my finials. You know, when you have a bulb going to a long concave finial, I'll just grab one quickly here. Now all my skews and all my boxes, the whole outside profile of this is turned with the skew. the finial, the body of the box and all, okay? Because it is spindle orientation. So when I do this skew, or my finial with the skew, this concave cadence, I cut with the toe of my skew, okay? So I enter here, and I come down and up and across, just like so. I come back in this direction, and again, I always stay within that bottom third. I never contact that whole tool, and I never contact past that center point, okay? If I have a rough spot there, I just come back and blend it again. There. Now we have a little bit of a line there, which can sometimes be tricky to take out with the toe. So I just switch to my heel and I clean up the bottom just like so. I also needed to switch to the heel because using the toe, my heel is liable to catch the top of this bead and the top of that bead, okay? So that is how we do a planing cut, a peeling cut, an entry cut or a stop cut, a V cut, your beads, and your coves, okay?
Or as Dane says, all the peas and then some more, right, Dane?
Absolutely.
Yep. So yeah, those are all the cuts created with the skew.
Well done.
Very nice.
And very minimal sanding. I could start sanding, well, except for that little catch there. I could start sanding at 240 and finish at 320. So now, this won't take too long. We'll have a little bit of a fun and we'll create a bust of a skew man. I just came up with this today. I was playing around, practicing my skew. I think this might be my warm-up. My warm-up for whenever I have a spindle day of production turning, table legs, banister railings, and whatnot. I will start with a fun project turning a skew man.
Hard to imagine you needing to practice some skill.
You always need practice with the skew. I find if I go on vacation or I'm away for a week, well, first of all, I'll start getting withdrawals because I haven't made anything within a week and I'm away from my lathe for a week. But you can get rusty if you tend to shy away from certain tools. And I mean, I did it in the beginning. I was always scared of the skew because I kept getting that pretty little spiral design that skates away on me until I really took the time to break it down. What am I doing wrong? Why is that happening? I'm riding the bevel. Oh, it's because I came up off the bevel and that curve shoots you in the opposite direction. And now it's my favorite tool because I don't like sanding, okay? And it significantly cuts down your sanding. So I'll just rough this round quick. I'll switch back to my 1.5 inch skew. Not quite round yet. Oh, here, keep my head out of the way here. I'll turn it over here. There we we go. It's not bouncing around on me. Nope. It is over here. There we go. Now I'll do one final pass to give me that nice finished surface to start with. Now, if you really want to get finicky or try something, a parting tool is a miniature skew, okay? But with this small of a surface, that sweet area is now less than 1/8 of an inch. But this can still be used as a skew.
Now you're starting trouble.
Which
There
is
we
why
go.
which is why that's called a
Giving you a
beating
really
and parting
nice
tool.
finish.
Show off.
So now we'll start with our little, first off, we did a planing cut. Now my skew min consists of all the cuts you will ever do with a skew. Okay. First one is a peeling cut. To define the top hat of my skew min. Ride that bevel down that vertical edge, cleaning up the top hat portion of your skew min. Okay. Oh, tiny little spot there I missed. Now I can't, sometimes it's hard to get in there and see the heel connect with that tight point. So you can also clean up that fuzz where those 2 points connect with your toe. Okay. Now here I make my entry cut. Actually, that's a little too far up. And then I start a beginning of a cove. Okay. And I am stopping where I meet that line. Now I do a vertical cut down across that end grain to clean up that surface. And there is our top hat and the forehead of our skew man. There. Then we make another V cut here. And that is going to be the bottom of the head. That's going to be his shoulder. This will be the body. That will be his legs. And this will be a couple beads for a pedestal for him to stand on. A bead at the bottom and a cove in between. Okay. So we start off, we made our entry cut, V cut. Oh, there we go. Now before I go too deep, I want to define the head. So I lie the tool flat on that corner on the flat part where I planed, I enter with the tip of the heel, and I am basically doing a half bead. Okay. There we go. Now there is his hat and his head. Now I need to define his shoulder. So I'm going to do a V type bead. There we are. Now I need to do a series of V cuts here just to get deep enough. There we go. There's his shoulder. Now I need to clean up the bottom of his head where it comes into his neck. There we are. And around that corner, clean up my V cut here. Now we'll do a torso. So this is the torso. This will be a V cut, half a bead. There we go. Now I'm at the depth. Now this is just a elongated bead for the body of a dad bod. So you got a little bit of a keg rather than a six-pack. Eh?
I am just amazed that Ronnie left that alone.
There we go. I had to take that cut in 2 passes because I was taking too heavy of a cut at first. And I started to bury the tip of the heel in that end grain. If I kept going and twisted this, oh, catch. We're not hitting the wall today on race day. Okay. So I'm up. I just need to blend this to match the top. There we go. Now we have our torso. We have our body, our shoulder, our head, and our top hat. Now I need to taper this down to create the legs. Do a half bead here, which is his hip. Okay. I can clean this up with my toe. There we go. Yep. Now I just need to create a taper, which is the exact same as one side of a cove. Clean up that little flat spot. There we are. Now I need to remove that. Now, oh, I didn't make it all the way to the where my bead begins here. So I'm just going to blend that there. There we go. There we go. Now we have our beads, which are going to be the pedestal he sits on, or he's standing on. Here we are. So to initiate these beads, we can mark our center lines. Now this bead here, I have to be careful because I don't want to touch that spur drive with my skew. I will definitely have to go back to my grinder. There we go. There's a little bead. I'll make a V cut here. Make a V cut here. A V cut there. a V cut here. So all our beads are down at the exact same height in the cove. Okay. Now I'll do one with the heel and one with the toe. There we go. Lay it flat, come up and around that corner. One more. There we go. If you're ever going to touch the piece, always touch it back here. You don't want any chance of your fingers getting in between here. Okay? I just wanted to get that little bit of fuzz off of there so I can see my connection points. So I can have a really nice crisp join where that bead and that concave connect. Now this one I will do with the toe. So I lie the toe flat, enter with the toe, and I come up and around that corner just like so. And just like so. There we go. I have a high side and a high side. So we'll clean that up. There we go. There we go. And now this is going to be a cove. Actually, excuse me, I'm just going to get rid of this little pencil line. There we go. Okay. Now my cove, I enter with the tip of my heel and I cascade back, stopping at that center line because, oh, a little bit of a catch because I caught the corner. That's okay. There, now we'll re-enter. There we go. My head's not in the way, I'll move over here. There. Now if I wanted to sand that, I would be able to start sanding at 220 or 340 and finish sanding at that exact same grit. But we don't need to watch me sand. So all I need to do now is just get a couple dabs of paint on there. And we'll have our little Skew man. And the paints I'm using, just for fun, are some acrylic-based paints that I got from, some are from Michael's, some are from Walmart. Pretty much all the same, if they're acrylic-based. Now my lathe is off, so I can remove my face shield. I'm still leaving my safety glasses on, just in case, I don't know, something wafts through the air or my heavy-handed painting pops this off the lathe. So now to frame in the face, I actually use the grain patterning in the wood. So I can see here I have the peaks and valleys and the grain lines within the wood. So that's what I use to frame in my eyes, and I center it that way. So there's one eye. Your next eye will go on the exact same portion of that curve right under the flat side, so it's uniform. Okay. And then the mouth, the first thing I do with the mouth, I do this same technique when I do snowmen and all my snowman ornaments. I always do the center one first, okay? And then I move them out from there. To get a uniform face and smile. Now, I need to clean my paintbrush, so I wipe them on my work pants here. It's okay, I do the laundry. And then I have a little bit of brown for his nose. And I do a little bit of a triangle type nose. There we are. Oh, to a point. And there we have our Skew man.
Yeah. He looks good.
It is beautiful.
Great
Beautiful.
job, Kate.
Very good job, Kate.
Very
Thanks,
good.
everyone.
Great demo, Kade. One point
Great
on
demo,
sand.
Kate.
One point
Thank you
on
so much.
sanding. A lot of people. Hold on. Okay, a lot of people will think I don't have to sand after getting that really nice finish off a Skew, but that's not the case. While you did get a really clean cut and you do get that burnishing, a lot of times that burnishing is just the polishing of the laying down of the fibers. And if you don't sand them at least at 240, then the finish can actually raise that grain back up. So you don't be trapped into thinking you don't have to sand after getting such a clean cut.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to sand. You can start at well, it's good to sand. I wouldn't say not to sand, depending on the project, but it significantly cuts your sanding down by far. So rather than starting at sanding at say 100 or 80 if I'm doing plowing, now I can start sanding at 240 and finish at whatever grit I desire to go to. So for instance, with that, I would probably start sanding and stop sanding at 320. If I had a little bit more of a steady hand or, well, the one I did this afternoon, this guy, I started sanding, this guy, I started sanding and finished sanding at 400. So, I mean, it just significantly lowers your rate of sanding, and it takes away that fuzz. But
yeah,
if you use an alcohol-based finish, it won't raise the grain. If you use a water-based finish, it will raise the grain.
I want to throw a nickel on the table here that sanding is directly linked to the slicing or cutting that you do, because you did not keep running that tool over the cut to burnish it into shape because you wanted to get a shape. You sliced the wood away to accomplish the shape. And when you sliced the wood away, you didn't compress the fibers. You removed them. And what do you do with the sanding? You remove the fibers.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I noticed when you did the beads with the heel versus the toe, when you used the toe, you were coming straighter into the wood, almost like you did with the peeling cut and the bee cut. When you did the heel, you were having more of a slicing cut. Do you see a difference in the finish of the wood and between those two?
Let me see.
You approached the wood at a more of a slicing angle when you did the heel. But the toe, you were more, it was more of a peeling cut.
I can't remember exactly which ones I did the heel and the toe with, but they do look fairly similar. You will most likely get a better cut with the heel, because with the heel, we have the tool at that skewed angle. So the fibers are coming down across that angle. At the toe, you're more at a flat angle. It's still slightly skewed, but not nearly as much. So I do get a better finish.
That's what I was bringing It was coming in almost at a flat angle with the toe when you did it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's very minimal. You can hardly see the difference, but wood turners will point it out. The homeowner wouldn't. The homeowner wouldn't.
Kate, I have to say this was one awesome demonstration, and I very much appreciated the details on how you can join him on Sunday for his pay-per-view. I'm going to call it that. But if you'd like to see another great demonstration by Kate, you can do that. Now, we have a policy of being non-promotional for tools, people, turners, wood, and all this stuff. I think after what we just saw, we kind of waive those rules a little bit when it's extremely well worth it for our membership. That's why we waived that. That's why I mentioned it. And it's in there from somebody else tonight. If you want a great demonstration, you just got it. If you go to AAW or SWAT or one of the other symposiums and watch the demonstration about this, you just got it. It's right here, and it's part of your Worldwide Woods Turners. And guess what the best part is? It's free. Thank you, Cade. Really appreciate it. Picked up a lot of tips on skews tonight. I think other people did too.
Yes.
That's great. I'm glad to hear. Thank you,
All right.
everyone. It's a pleasure. And
It is our pleasure, sir.
Thank you, Cade.
Thank you, Kate. It was great.
And Cade joins us every couple of weeks to do a demonstration like this. And folks, it's not what he turned. It's really not important what he turned. He created a nice little novel piece. He created a piece that had a couple of hoops and loops in it. But what he showed you just now was excellent tool presentation, technique. I've always told my students when I was teaching in my shop a long time ago before something went bad, that I can't teach you art. That's not in my world. That's in your world right here. But I can teach you how to use those tools. And I'm going to do it the simplest way possible. I want to make you learn how it cuts. Because I've seen too many demos on TV, YouTubes, and all this stuff where a guy would take a tool and just go straight in. You see shavings go flying over his shoulder, and that's on carbide, carbon, mouse, whatever. And people say, wow, I'd love to do that. Stop the machine and look at what he did. That's what you got to do. Stop the machine. Like Cade said, if I can slice it away, that's Mark Slay's term, slice it away, I don't have to do nearly as much sanding. It's 25 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock. We got a lineup right here. And I got a couple of things to mention, but if you want to be in on showing something for gallery right now, go to our chat and put in, I have something to show. Dane Chandler watches the chat. He will plug it in and talk to you, and we'll get going. But I got to remind you that we still have our week stand challenge going on. And a week stand challenge incorporates things just like Kate just now did for us. Decorations on a spindle, hoops, loops, all those things. It doesn't have to be straight wood. Have a little fun with it. And that's the week stand challenge. When you do a week stand, send us a photograph of it. We will put it on a newsletter. We'll put it on our website, and you get a week stand challenge card from our webmaster. And also to remind you again, the SWAT operation or program in Waco, Texas, is going to be happening this year. It will be the last full weekend in August again. And if you'd like to participate, you can. And it's gotten back to almost a normal situation because of the COVID thing. Almost a normal situation. But I can guarantee you this one thing, straight up, it's the best symposium you will ever go to. And that's in my humble opinion. David, our webmaster, is still with us tonight. David wanted to give us a little update on something that he's doing to the website. David, are you still there?
I am, if you can hear me. Whoops.
We got you, David. Keep talking, sir.
Okay. Yes, I wanted to mention that it was asked last week if I was creating something that has all the, what do I want to say, the links that come off the chat. And I wanted to point out, if you go to the website, and I'm even willing to share the screen if somebody wants me to do that. I've changed it so that not only can you find it, but you can go to the page that says FYI, and I've taken little pictures and tried to make it so that all you have to do is scan down the pictures. You don't even have to read it. You can just say, oh, that's what I'm looking for, and click on that, and it'll take you to the section where the link is.
Great. Wow. Our website just keeps getting better and better and better. And folks, you can be part of it. You have something of interest dealing with wood turning, you go right to our website. There's a contact sheet on there. Contact them, tell David what you have. He'll go back and forth with you. There are no rules, no, there's no politics to this whole thing. All we want to do is share information on wood turning. I'm going to beat that drum until the last day. All right, we're going to thank you, David. Appreciate it. And it is a fantastic website he keeps current for us. And oh, I don't know if I mentioned it, he does this for free because there's no money changes hands in this operation. All the folks you see here tonight, all the folks working on this program, all the wood turners that are involved, all of them are doing it because they want to be part of saving and perpetuating wood turning. And before we do the gallery, I think the crash is in with us tonight. And it's a little special thing. Brenda, are you with us tonight?
Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Brenda. How are you?
I'm okay.
All right. I got to mention, folks, Brenda is one of our old-time listeners. Old-time, not old listeners, but old-time listeners. Brenda, you had something happen this week, didn't you?
I had a bad day.
Okay. Well, they're all wondering what the bad day involved.
Well, I got a little just a little tiny scratch, just a little paper cut with from sandpaper. So yeah, I mean it was just very little thing, but I had to own it, you know. So
Well, I know we always want to be fair. So
Yeah.
there you are, Brenda's Band-Aid Brigade. Brenda has made the top of the list right now. Thank you, Brenda. Hope no hurt wasn't too bad.
Yeah, thanks, Eddie.
All right, take care.
Brenda, you want to go ahead and show us your gallery item?
Okay, sure.
Thanks for taking my place, Brenda.
Yeah. So I made another wig stand this week.
Whoa, look at that.
It seems to be the only thing I can do right now. So it's not finished yet, but so I'm going to show you one piece at a time here. Top piece was made out of Osage orange.
The flying saucer part.
Yeah, yeah. And each piece has a little, I don't know,
Distinct characteristic.
character. This one, it all chopped up on me. So I took some wood glue. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but took some wood glue and added some shavings to make it dark and stuck it in there, and I'll clean it up later if I can.
It'll work. Yes, it will work.
All right.
Yeah, that looks
So,
great.
and then we got the spindle, which I'm a lot better at spindles than I am bowls. And this piece, you can see how it's got this little inclusion or whatever here.
Yeah.
Well, this is like the bark or whatever, and this was a hole. This piece here was a hole. So I filled it with purple resin, or not resin, shavings from purple acrylic pen. Yeah, so I filled that in there with that. And then, I think that was pine there, I think. A piece of a 2x2 my neighbor gave me.
All right.
Yeah. And this, I love this piece. This piece was, look, I actually, after I couldn't do no bowls, I actually just hollowed that out. No problems. Nothing flew off the lathe. It had no catches. I don't know how that happened, but this one again, it's also got some, it had like a wormholes in it, I think. So I dug them out and put some kind of wood shavings in that too, I think. So
Add character to it. Looks nice.
Yeah.
I
So
think it
each
looks
piece has
great.
a little character, you know.
Right.
Wow. Brenda, you're rocking them up. I mean, look, you made 2x4 turn a team with that spindle. Always want to be fair. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Beautiful
wanted my
work.
base is a little bit bigger, you know, instead of the little 4 or 5 inches, you know.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
okay. It'll hold more change and jewelry, and
Yeah, yeah.
More stable.
it's very nice. Also more stable too. Yeah,
Yeah,
when
it's
you bump
almost
into
more
the
stable, yeah. I have
dresser.
a lot of
More
problems with
M&Ms.
this piece though, but I didn't intend it to be that thin or that small, but you know, it just kept falling apart. So
It's okay. It's effort. You got something out of it. Somebody else will get something out of it. I think you won all 3 bells.
yep,
Yeah, good job,
that's
Brenda.
what I got.
Beautiful.
Very
Thank you,
nice.
Brenda. Appreciate it tonight.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
All
And
right.
folks, we teased with Brenda about the Band-Aid grade, but trust me, you are not beyond being teased with, because that's what we fear. Bunch of friends
Exactly.
talking wood turning. So, hey, I wanted to see you there. Let's go back to gallery. Who else we have, Dane?
All right, we got Bob Moffett up next.
Bob Moffett.
How you doing?
Hey,
How
man.
you doing?
How are you? Well, I was
Pretty
at John Campbell last week, and they, instead of having jars of honey for breakfast, they had these little square things. So I made me a COVID honey dipper.
That's awesome.
And then they
That's
had
great.
a class before us doing natural edge doing green wood. So I saw all this bark look out there, and I just went crazy. And I made me a couple bird houses.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's
That's
cool.
cherry bark. And then another one here. This is my hang gliding birdhouse.
Yeah.
And this was a cherry knot.
Oh yeah.
Wow, very nice.
So I thought I'd try something different.
Well, you did. You found it.
Good job.
Mhm. I like the live hedge accents. That's pretty cool.
I thought that was sort of neat. So
Yeah.
it's really pretty easy to do. So that made it better too.
Good. Bob, appreciate the show tonight. Boy, that's fantastic to see a guy that messes at birdhouses go another step on, right? All right. Who else we have, Dane? Do we?
Let's see. We have Tom in East Tennessee. Go ahead and start talking, Tom, and I'll bring you up.
Okay, bring me up. I'm talking right here. Hello. I'm somewhere on there. I still look like Eddie.
There he is.
Find me?
Yeah, I was looking at you. Go ahead. Keep going.
There I am. Okay. All right. What I got isn't really so much gallery. I made another dowel, but I went to the plumbing department this time and saved a lot of money over the fancy collet system I got before. But I don't want to keep figuring out where I left my wrench the last time. So I pre-printed, see this, nope, there it is. 3D printed these knurled nut covers. So it goes on there, and then you just use that instead of looking for the wrench. Give you a better demonstration. Let's see. If I find this tool here, yeah. Like here, I made, where is it?
Back towards you.
Made focus. Oh, take that off. Made one of these tools. So like, there's my knurled nut cover. So
Pull the whole thing right back to you towards your face, Tom, please.
I keep getting off out of the camera shot there. So like with the nut cover I made, you just put the tool in there and tighten it, and it's in there. And then break it loose, pull it out. So these things I did with a 3D program that's called OpenSCAD. I can put the files for it on the website or send them to the webmaster. if anybody's interested in that kind of stuff, if you like to use that instead of a wrench.
Well, let's put it all in one thing. Put it in our chat. Our webmaster goes through our chat and gets it out there, makes a link for it on our website, and it'll be there. So you can put it in there right now. And the folks that are watching tonight, before they leave, save the chat, and you'll have that information. How's that?
No, actually, it's files. It's not chat.
Oh, it's files? You want to get files?
I'll communicate with the webmaster.
Great. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Wow.
I've got a question. What kind of brass fitting is that you're using, and what size was it?
Actually,
Well, the PDF plans for the plumbing parts were 3/8, 1/2 inch, and 5/8. And I did this with a 1/2 inch. I did another one that I don't have a handle for 3/8 inch. And I've also worked on the 5/8 for this one.
So they're just brass compression fittings?
Yeah.
Cool.
There's a PDF, there's a thing on the website for plans for doing that.
Is there on our website?
Yeah.
Okay. Gee, I should check that thing out.
Gerald had it out there.
Good info. Nice.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Just trying to make an improvement there.
All right.
Oh, and you made the knurled knobs with on a CNC program?
Yeah, it's I use OpenSCAD, and we should see this.
Pull it back towards your face, sir.
I was trying to show you the knurl.
Yeah, we can see it.
So yeah, so I mean, it's got the nut shape there.
We got it. We got it.
See it?
But you know, that fits over that nut. That's you know, it's just a compression fitting.
That's pretty cool.
So once
Good
it's on
idea.
there, I don't need a wrench. I can just use my fingers and tighten or loosen it.
Great idea.
Good idea. Beautiful. Keep getting them all night long. Great ideas again. Thank you, sir. Who's up next, Dane?
Scott Tig is. Scott, go ahead and start talking. I'll bring you up.
Oh, Scott.
Good.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
sir. We're looking at you too.
Okay. I had to make a client wanted some wooden doorknobs. He gave me some wormy chestnut. He wanted them to look old. So I had to take the steel part off and put a wooden end on it. It's for his custom log home. So I made about 3 of these today.
Wow, that's nice. I love the
That's
wood.
nice.
that's cool. Yeah, great
Yeah,
job.
those are really cool.
What
Wow.
you use?
Thank you.
Blacken
That's
it?
all I got.
Which,
Scott, what-
wait. What finish do you have on it?
CA.
All right.
Cool.
You're a man after Ronnie Barnett's heart. That's all. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. And let's go back to Ontario. Hey, Kate.
Hey, how's it going? I've been working on a couple of things this week, mainly practicing while finishing a couple orders and then practicing for this weekend. But I wanted to show you this piece. This is one of my boxes that was accepted into the Wood Symphony Gallery. This piece I called Kingdom. It's ambrosia maple. It's dyed a teal blue. All these flames are representative of a crown, and then the spire of a medieval tower. So the finial and the jewels are all ash and dyed with chestnut spirit stains. And the body of the box is also dyed with chestnut spirit stains.
That is cool.
So that's
pretty
one of them.
That's really pretty.
Yeah.
Did you do
I
all
mean-
that with a skew?
Yes, all the outside profile, the lid, the jewels and the finial were all done with the skew. All these connections were done with the skew. The inside was with a Irish grind or Ellsworth grind bowl gouge.
Wow, that is one beautiful piece.
Pretty, really pretty.
Thanks.
Did you start as green wood for it, or was it dry wood?
No, it was totally dry. It was kiln dried wood. It was actually a whole bunch of 3-inch deep bowl blanks I had ready because I had a whole bunch of classes lined up before COVID hit. And then, of course, COVID canceled all classes and courses and teaching. So I've cut up a couple of those bowl blanks and they became box blanks.
Right.
So that was one of them. I was really playing around with it and I really liked how it turned out, came out, and I thought I'd entered it in the exhibition and it was juried in. So I was happy about that.
Very nice. You had another piece there?
Yes, I have another 2 pieces. So here's one, another footed box. This was practice for this weekend. And I played with a couple colors. Really, I played with color because on some parts, it bled into other parts. So I used, like when I did the feet at first, it bled slightly. So I decided to coat the whole outside black. And then the inside, I wanted to do a color contrasting color. So that's an orange. And then with the lid, originally I had just the bead black, but it bled a little bit. So I decided to make the whole crown and the finial black. And then the orange that matches the inside of the box. So that was playing around. And then I had this tiny little one here. This one is made out of cherry. And I like the black effect on the outside. It almost looks like a witch's cauldron.
Yeah.
And the inside I left natural. This is made out of cherry. The lid I left natural for a color contrast. And the finial I dyed black, red, black, and then a yellow eternal flame.
Ooh.
Really nice.
Will you be able to get a color photograph for our newsletter and our website?
Yeah,
Come on, say
I'll be
yes.
able. Yeah, I can take a couple photos. I'll have to use my light box because it's not quite finished just yet. I have a couple coats on the inside, but I can't see myself in it yet. So it needs a few more coats of finish.
I got to go along with them. Only wood turners gauge it like that. All right. Kate, I really appreciate it. Folks, you want to see some of his works, there's his website right there on the bottom of the screen. Thank you, Kate. Appreciate that. Fantastic demonstration tonight. All kinds of tips and hints popping out. I want to thank all you folks for that. We got about 10 more minutes before we're going to wrap this up. So if you have something else to show tonight, put it on the chat. We'll go right there. Dane will call you up and we'll get right into business. This week, talking with we don't have a management team. We don't have a board of directors. You. And I have some members that joined us early on, and I call them the advisory team. It's not restricted. It's not selected. You get there by being involved in the club. And most of our members and advisory team members are here tonight, right here. And we have been talking lately by chit chat about demonstrations, future demonstrations. This is what we'd like to do. We'd like to get you guys, gals, turners, who wish to be involved in the club and do a demonstration. Be it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, whatever you can do. You can do a demonstration. We want you in the box. All you have to do is contact us. You can contact us at worldwidewoodturners@gmail.com. You can go to our website, worldwidewoodturners.org, or you can call me. My phone number's all over the place. And just tell us you want to be involved in a group because we want you there. So please, if you want to be in this program, jump on board because it's how we do this. It's your wood turning club. I still can't put the poll up because of the way we're doing this, but I will get the poll that we want to ask about expansion of the programs. I will get that up when we come back next Wednesday. It will be there. Somehow, we'll find out how to put it there. You know what? I'll probably get Trey or Johnny Hughes to come back home and and put it up there for us. Who else we have for gallery tonight out there? I see a couple of them.
We have Mr. Mark Waddle coming up next.
Mark,
go ahead.
talk. Mark, if you're out there, you have to talk. And you have to unmute yourself to talk.
You're muted, Mark.
Mark,
hello.
space
Is that
bar.
better? I'm used to it. I'm not used to this. I'm getting better at it. How you going? Hang on.
And Mark is out of the great state of Australia. Oh wait, they're not state or country.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Oh, we call it the 51st state. down here.
Okay. What do you have, sir?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You can hear me. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Yep. I have this little bowl. It's a coin bowl made out of red gum, which I rescued from the firewood pile. There's one of the Facebook groups I belong to is from the beginning, wood turners, and I've been turning for a long time, but I hadn't done anything for about 30 years, so I'm just sort of getting back into it. But I don't want to die without sharing my knowledge, you know, so I'm trying to get back and finish turning all that wood that's been sitting in the back shed for a long time.
Well, you're doing good. I like the color of that piece.
This one I rescued out of the firewood pile. Yeah, this is what we burn around here, which is a bit sad. But I made a little tutorial about it as well. One of the things I've learned a lot of is how to get out of trouble. I still get into trouble, but I sort of learned a few techniques of getting out of trouble, you know, fixing cracks and all that sort of, and all that sort of thing. So this is a little coin bowl, and there's a tutorial on, I don't know if you guys do Facebook or whatever, but there's a beginner's wood turning group there.
Okay.
And they wanted experienced wood turners to make tutorials. So I made a tutorial about making this little bowl, and it's a coin bowl.
Mark, did you texture the rim, the outside rim?
Yeah, it's just got some little beads thrown on it. I don't know if you can see that. It's just got some little beads, and then because the red gum has a lot of tannin in it, you can use that ebonizing fluid. You know, it's basically cider vinegar and steel wool dissolved in cider vinegar, and if you put it on anything with tannin in it, like oak or red gum, it just goes black.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So it looks like an ebony inlay, but it's not.
It's very nice.
Yeah. Mark,
And,
I always consider
yeah.
we have, our group has got a Facebook page, and if you'd like to add a tutorial or a piece or a photograph, you can do that, and it's open.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to. I'll find it if I can. So there's the bottom. It's got a little split here, but it's kind of when you put oil and wax on it, the split closes up. Red gums have got a lot of work, but it's great color. That's an Aussie coin.
Thank you.
That's
Appreciate
50
you
cent
sharing
piece.
this. Mark,
All right,
appreciate
thank
you
you.
sharing. You got a low bandwidth. We're getting real choppy here tonight, but you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, it's freezing here. We just had a storm through because it's the middle of winter, and I think it took out one of the towers.
Okay.
Very
Sorry to hear
nice
that.
piece.
He's
That's
got
why we
freezing.
got-
He's got freezing weather, and Kade Bolger's got 95 degrees.
Well, we're glad
Thank
you
you,
didn't
sir.
burn. We're glad you didn't burn that wood to
It's
keep
fine.
warm.
yeah. Well, as we speak, I'm burning great big logs of it, but I saved some of it. Mm.
Thank you,
All
Mark.
right, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you showing tonight.
Thanks.
All right. Up next is Sandy Swayze. Hi, Sandy.
Hi,
Hi,
Sandy.
Hi. Let me see if I can get this up. I can't tip it, but what I have is a bowl full of spheres. I couldn't turn for a few weeks. The dermatologist did some work on my face and decided I needed a lot of stitches. But so I went a few weeks ago to my friend George's house and turned some spheres. He got this new fancy jig. So I went over to test it out. So while I couldn't turn, I knew I could still paint and burn and stuff like that. So I've been decorating spheres. Can you
That's nice.
see
Pull
him?
right, there you go, right back, right there.
Beautiful.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
very nice.
So
So
what
there's,
did you put in that?
I have a whole bowl full. Then I decided I'd make some flowers and leaves.
Oh, wow.
Oh, pretty.
Can you tell I was really bored? This one took me about 5 days.
Wow. Getting lathe withdrawals, you had to do something
Oh,
else.
it was terrible. I tell you, I just started back to turning yesterday, day before. And then I did some tiny ones. So I painted, did a lot of burning and painting of flowers on different kind of woods. And then some of them, I decided the wood was so pretty that I couldn't bear to paint it or burn it. So
Right.
some,
Wow. What
I
wood
love-
is that one?
this one right here is a cherry that came out of Pennsylvania that a friend gifted me in Arizona. And so I
Wow.
brought it back to Washington. So it was so pretty, I couldn't cover it up. And then this is myrtle wood, comes out of Oregon. So
Oh, that's got flash to it. That really does.
yeah. So anyway, and then this one is Chinese Chechen, I think you say it. It looks like it's 2 pieces of wood.
Oh,
put
wow.
together, but it's
That's
really
cool.
just
That's cool.
1 piece of wood. So, and then I got really crazy with painting because I was bored. And so I burned all kinds of crazy things and just started painting. And I used a lot of acrylic, but I got a lot of water colors in here as well when I wanted to soften things up.
You need a hobby. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Then
stuff.
Then I did some feathers.
Oh,
That's
cute.
pretty.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, I could go on because you figure I sat out here for 3 weeks. This is all I could do in my shop. So just more crazy painting. But I have to tell you, it was a lot of fun.
Good.
Which jig? Which jig did he buy?
You know, I wish I could tell you the name of the daggum thing, but for the life of me, I can't remember. And he's usually online, and I looked for his name. It wasn't there. It's George Krumpka, who's also usually is here. And he got this
Okay.
new fancy, I don't know, $160 jig thing.
Is it blue?
No, it's actually like stainless steel, it looks like. And you take this thing and you go around, you go around, you go around. And so I did several there, and then I came home and did some the old-fashioned way with the cups and turning it. And I brought them all home, and that's how I was sanding it, you know, with the cup and the headstock and the tailstock, and then finishing them after I painted them.
Oh, they're
A few of
beautiful.
them, yeah, a few of them have spray lacquer. Some of them just have wax. I put CA on first and then some wax and buffed it up. But it was fun, and it kept me from going totally crazy. I'm not real good at television, so I'm really not.
And there's no satisfaction in it at all.
No, no. I had a lot of fun. Like I said, I think I did like 15 of these things. There's another flower one. That one has a lot more burning on it. All the dark you see is just burned. So
They're beautiful. They are beautiful. Thank you for sharing tonight. Wow.
Have you done an eyeball yet? Or a whole
no,
bunch
I
of
didn't do
eyes?
an eyeball, but I thought about it on one of those little ones. And then I thought, no, it scares the one to death. And I didn't know how good I'd be at painting an eye. Usually if I look at a picture or in my head, I can do okay.
If you do the eye, you have to give us a warning before you show it.
Okay, I can do that.
I'm unfortunately, I can't handle it anymore. So thank you. Thank you, Sandy. Appreciate
Thank
the
you,
input
guys.
tonight. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandy. All right,
Thanks.
well, let's
Beautiful.
go back to Eddie.
Me?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Remind you again, we still have the weight stand challenge going on. That's going to continue. I'm looking for a challenge for July 4th. to open something up for July. I'm looking for input on a challenge. Now, remember, these challenges are kind of an honor system type challenge. I don't want you to send me the piece. Really, I've got a gallery full of stuff that I love. A lot of it you sent me, but I want to see a photograph of it. Talk about it. Explain what you did, how you did it, how we came to it, what kind of finish you put on it, what wood you use, and what wood you should not use, and what kind of finishes you put together, and what you should never put together. That's what this is all about. So if you've got an idea for the challenge, email me at worldwidewoodturners@gmail.com. That's my mailing address for this club, worldwidewoodturners@gmail.com. And if you just want to go through our website, on the bottom screen right now is our website address. And we are still collecting pens for Freedom Pens, but we took a shortcut. Now, Doug is not with us tonight. They're building his shop out. I understand he's waiting for the overhead door to come in. And then that seals it up, and we'll go back to getting some memos from Doug out of Arizona. But we're still collecting Freedom Pens. And if you'd like to donate a pen to Freedom Pens, all you have to do is ship it to Doug. There's a contact on our Worldwide Woodturners website, probably the best one in the entire world, to where you can ship those pens to. And you see what we went to? We're making wig stands for people who need that support for something that's happened to them and they want to live through it, and you can help them with that. We want to thank our troops for what they do for our protection and for our service and for our freedoms. We have the opportunity to do that with the Freedom Pen. And our challenges to you are to help you become a better woodturner and for you to share your talents with everybody in the world. That's why it's Worldwide Woodturners. Anybody up right now?
No, that's it for gallery for the moment.
Well, it is 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, and our obligation is to, for 1 hour show, we run a little bit longer than 3 hours without the in-out glitches tonight. But I think we had a pretty good program. I have to say again, Kade Bolger probably did the finest Skew demonstration I have ever seen. He explains the good, the bad, the ugly, the what to do, what not to do. And if I was to go to a symposium, I would expect at least that. But he gave us more than that. So I want to thank him for that fantastic demonstration. And above all else, I want to thank you, each and every one of you woodturners, all of you, for being part of worldwidewoodturners.org. With that, in 30 seconds, I'm pulling the plug. Say goodnight, boys, girls,
Eddie.
ladies. Yes, sir.
Eddie.
Good night, everyone.
Eddie.
Good night, everybody.
I still got you. Go ahead.
Just want to say something before the meeting ends. Would I be able to get a copy of the video? I'll edit out the rest of the meeting. I would just like to upload the video to my YouTube as well.
And have it.
Martin, say it again.
Oh, the recording of the video tonight, would I be able to get a copy of it, please? I'll edit out the rest of the meeting. I would just like to upload the demo portion of my demo up to my YouTube channel. So if I could please get a copy of the video.
I think I can do that. I think I can edit what I've recorded tonight, take that piece and send you that piece. Otherwise, it's going to be like a 5,005 gigabytes long. But I can take it out. And if I have to, I'll put it on a chip and send it to you.
Okay, perfect.
I can do
Thanks
that.
a lot.
You're on the list. But hey, it's time to say goodnight, folks. And thank you
Night, everyone.
for being part of the program.
Good night,
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Stay
Kade.
safe.
Night, y'all.
Right.
Talk to you in a bit, Kade.
Yeah, talk to you in a bit. Oh, I just saw your message, Dave. Thank you. I just wasn't exactly sure which Dave it was who had the recording or was doing the web, so I saw it in the chat now, so thank you.
That's Dave Rose, our webmaster. The webmaster.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody. I lied. I told you to turn it off. I'm going to turn it off right now. Bye.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. Take care.
Save the chat.
Right to Bevel.
Save the chat.
Right to Bevel.
Ride to Bethel. No plowing allowed.
Face shield.
Wear your face shield. Shields up.
Right?